This conference will now be recorded.
Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to today's webinar. This is NSA Professional Services Series webinar number 45. Urgent is the time now to reconnect with your trading partners and customers. And our partner for today's session is going to be UniLink, a long-term partner of NSA. So we're really pleased to have them. My name is Brian Weaver, and I'm the Vice President of Sales here at NSA. And I host our webinars, and I'm the primary contact for this particular service. And I would ask that anybody that might be interested in follow-up after this, my contact information is on the screen. You can feel free to contact myself or our presenter today. For those of you that may not be familiar, I'd just like to cover a couple of little items about NSA. So NSA was founded in 1984. Infor is the only ERP solution that NSA implements. So we've done a number of varieties of SXE implementations over all that period of time, as well as Cloud Suite. We have the largest base of consultants with the most experience as well. The slide's a little dated, so we've got 10 full-time consultants. We're closer to 20 this particular time. And Infor taps us often with our expertise, and we've done a number of conversions to Cloud Suite as well. I'd like to introduce today's presenter, so Tony Palermo. Tony's been with UniLink for quite a period of time. He's had a number of prior experiences, capacities in Knology and Scientific Atlanta, as Stanley's Black & Decker as well. And he's been on the management team for startups and high growth companies for a number of years as well. So Tony, I'd like to have you go ahead and take it away, my friend.
All right, thank you very much. And thanks to NSA. And we'd like to thank everyone for attending this afternoon. I know your time is valuable, and hopefully you'll be able to pick off some important information as we move through the next 30 to 35 minutes of presentation. What we're really talking about today is a component of digital transformation. I'm sure everyone has an initiative and has a very dynamic, and their digital transformation sits in the middle of all the digital activities of your company. EDI is a critical component of that digital transformation because it's the digital connection to your trading partners and customers. And now staff becomes a very critical component, being able to directly access and work through the ERP system, providing access and view into the EDI system. And it's really more than just a competitive advantage. It's now a requirement to compete, and it supports resilience. Everyone has a plan for their company to continue to grow and become more resilient as time goes on. And this digital connection to trading partners and customers is certainly critical to that. There was a survey done just recently, and a high percentage of executives believe that their current business model will not be economical in the near years to come. And I think that's true for all of us. We all have to look at our business model and ways to continue to improve our digital platform. And if you're not using EDI, or if you're using EDI in just a small portion of your transactions, this is an opportunity to really add value to that digital platform. At a conference we were at recently, they did a survey 3 years ago, and they did a survey again this past year, and EDI was on the top 5 initiatives for the IT departments of these companies. And for a lot of companies, it's still on the list. And the reason is because certain priorities come into play, and they disrupt the order of that list, and EDI goes on to the next year. So when we talk about now's the time, it's because companies, for very good reasons, haven't quite gotten to the point where they're ready to tackle that initiative. So hopefully we're going to offer some information today that would make you feel more comfortable to expand your EDI program, to assess your current EDI program if you have one, and to initiate and get started on that. So before I tell you the what, let me tell you a little bit about the who. Like NSA, UniLink has been a service partner with Infor for 20 plus years. And we've been specifically in the EDI space, very narrow, for all of that time. Like to think of ourselves as a trusted provider. We have very good relationships with the different VAR categories within Infor. 99% of our business is with Infor ERP systems. We like to think of ourselves as having service in our DNA. And again, we have over 26 years of e-commerce experience. So the time is now. We firmly believe that it is absolutely critical to have an EDI initiative in your companies. There's certainly a need for automation because it plays right into the quality of data. We've seen significant improvements in the quality of data for companies on orders coming in or orders going out after they've implemented EDI. There is a sense of urgency, and there's two ways to approach it. You can be proactive or you can be reactive. Proactive is always less painful and a lot less expensive than being reactive. It certainly improves profits. We'll get into ROI and payback analysis as we go through the presentation. But those savings drop to the bottom line, and it drops to the bottom line, and it's the gift that keeps giving, because since it's an expense initiative that's being reduced and quality that's going up, that those attributes go to the bottom line every single month. You certainly want to be flexible and responsive to your market. Everyone wants to improve inventory turns and intervals. And now we've added that last category, and that is EDI is in fact a defender of disruption, whether it be COVID or supply chain, labor force, any natural disaster, any unforeseen events. Working from anywhere is becoming a key component of that digital transformation. When we're talking about the quality, we've done some research and read some reports there that people that initiate their EDI program see about a 62% drop in error rates. So once you start monetizing those types of things, again, the ROI and the payback are significant. So let's talk a little bit about the components of EDI. There's certainly software and hardware. You have to have experienced personnel, support and monitoring resources. You have implementation and upgrades, van fees, mapping software, project management and coordination. They're just a subset of the total list. And when you add up that list, you start to get an idea of what your total cost of ownership would be, or what your total cost of ownership is now. But the good news is that the SaaS model has really saved the day, and has been an accelerator to people moving into the EDI space. Now, chances are that you're either in a manual state, you're limited, you have half a dozen or so connections because they were required by either a customer or a trading partner. And quite frankly, a lot of companies went kicking and screaming, and they have infrastructure built, but only serving a small subset. If you're at that 40 or 50% or greater level of EDI implementation, I would also encourage you to look at your total cost of ownership because the SaaS model significantly reduces that cost. So let's talk a minute or two about if you're in a manual mode or if you're doing manual transactions, even as part of your EDI platform. Research would show, once again, that it costs between $10 and $15 to process a document. And if you take the lower end of that spectrum and call it $10, that means there's a significant amount of cost involved if you multiply that by the number of transactions per month. So if you're doing 1,000 transactions, that's $10,000 in cost. If you were in a SaaS model, the cost per transaction, let's just on the high side call it 50 cents, depending upon your volume. You can see that $500 versus $10,000 is a pretty significant cost savings. People look at that $10 to $15 range and they've challenged that because of the number of lines that they average on a PO. And we did research on that also. We worked with Honeywell and we looked at several hundred POs, and you look at the number of lines times 51 cents per line, which was their cost estimate, and you still come back into that $10 to $15 range. So either way you look at it, there's a significant amount of cost savings that goes into the payback analysis or the ROI to implement your EDI platform. So let's assess some of those costs of ownership. If you're thinking about doing it internally, or you may already have an EDI initiative started in your company. If you have a minimum of three full-time equivalents, a modest amount for hardware, software, maintenance, cost for turnover, which is a big issue because people don't come into the EDI section of the IT department to stay there forever. So it takes a while to train them, get them up to speed, and before you know it, they're off to another department within the company. So it seems like we're always looking for the next person to go into the EDI department. There's certainly a high cost of that. But it's not unreasonable to think that versus a SaaS model, that you could save upwards of $500,000 a year in direct costs. So if you're going to go to a managed service or outsourcing your EDI program, these are some of the questions or some of the areas you certainly want to research. Price, time, and service are the three main categories. From a price standpoint, you want to do business with a company that has a guaranteed no risk model. That's success-based. It should only have two components. There is a one-time cost to prepare the maps, and they're around $150 per map. And then there's transaction costs, which are the recurring monthly costs. None of these fees should be billed until you actually are up, tested, and ready for production. So the pricing components and the ongoing recurring transaction costs are the two components of the pricing, but a guaranteed model is a must. The second is time. How long does it take to get into production? What's the process? What's the time to completion, and the speed and the accuracy of the data and the mapping and the reporting? And the third component is the service. The company that you do business with should be in a position to do all of the heavy lifting. Don't tie up your valuable resources. And they should have a service platform that goes beyond just customer service or customer care. It has to be proactive. It has to be exception-based so that alerts can be forwarded to all the right people should a transaction fail. And they have to be a company who answers the phone, which is seems to be rare these days, and are very sensitive to the fact that they are sitting in the middle of your commerce and have to respond accordingly. So having a portal, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is also a critical component of a managed service when you are looking at companies to do that. So the criteria that matters: success-based pricing. You shouldn't have any CapEx, no additional software. You want to go with a company that has a defined and proven implementation process that frees up your resources, that doesn't tie your resources up. And they have to have an ongoing coordination program with trading partners, because trading partners make changes sometimes that cause transactions to fail, and they have to be corrected expeditiously so that transaction can be properly processed. And they have to have, as I indicated earlier, an automated and proactive exception reporting and correction process. So what I'm saying here is that the ROI is ridiculously high, depending upon the number of transactions that you're running through the system on a per trading partner basis. And the payback is typically months. So oftentimes, if you start that initiative in the first quarter of the year, you're basically paying for that initiative by the end of the same calendar year. The other thing that I would say is that if you look at that criteria, there was an old adage back in the day that said, "I want to do business that has a motto of one neck to choke," and that is, we assume all that responsibility. Whoever you do business with has to assume that responsibility, because that's no time for pointing fingers in other directions when in fact you have a transaction that has failed. So this is my only salesy slide. Why UniLink? Well, I think we tick off all those boxes from a price performance standpoint, from having a custom EDI framework that is very friendly to onboarding trading partners. And we'll talk about that in a minute also. And certainly the price structure, the guaranteed structure, the service reputation, all become very important, and things that I believe we provide value across the board. So there's really 80% of all the transactions that a service provider would process for customers, for companies, would be the core four, and that's the purchase order acknowledgement, advanced shipping, and invoices. At the other end of the spectrum, there's an awful lot of forms. There's different rebate forms. We'll talk about that in a second. Different PO management forms. There's hundreds of forms, and we support all those forms, as well as all the ACH acknowledgement requirements that your company may have. Let's focus a little bit on rebates, because this is where I think we do start to differentiate even more. We listen to our customers. We've heard that the rebate process certainly needs to be automated, and there are EDI forms for that. But more important than just processing the forms back and forth, it's managing the data. And so our folks, we looked at that, we defined it, we worked with our customers, and we now have a rebate system that runs throughout the month that keeps track of all the rebates submitted and all the rebates paid into a spreadsheet. And we'll show that in just a second to give you an idea of what that is, but that provides value. So the rebate process is very important to the distribution sector, just like receiving multiple POs from distributors or from retailers into a manufacturing facility is a problem for them, especially when those multiple POs are submitted throughout the month and not following the normal EDI process of filing an exception for that PO. So on the Rebate Accelerator, we just launched it this past fall. And what we do is we take the information that's in the 844, which is the rebate request, and the reply that comes back from the manufacturer to you, the 849, and we do a running total for the entire month. So what happens is at the start of the month, we're zeroed out when the first 844 goes, and some companies send 844s or rebate requests in daily, sometimes once or twice a week, sometimes once or twice a month. But however often that is, we track that and we track the responses coming back. And this is an example of what that reporting would look like. And we just populated it with false data. We certainly wouldn't use any customer data there. But the examples and the headings across the top are true to form. You can see if a rebate request is accepted and paid. You can see if it is rejected and why it's rejected, or if it's a price difference. If it's pennies, why would you research it? But if it's a significant amount of money, you certainly would want to research that and resubmit that particular rebate request. We've heard rave reviews from our customers throughout the years on just really automating, sending the 844 in and getting back the 849. Customers have been quoted as saying that oftentimes they'll get their rebate paid before the invoice is actually due, which improves cash flow, and CFOs seem to love that. But again, the key is that there is an easy way. It's not labor intensive to track all of those rebates and to make sure that they are processed on a regular basis and are processed quickly by the manufacturer. And it has to be detailed because it requires detailed data. And this report can be scanned and summarized, and you can look at a particular claim at a detail level or a summary level. So this is a pretty good graphic that kind of tells our story. From an implementation standpoint, we would connect you to our data center would be the first step. You pick the forms that you want to use. You can start with trading partners or start with customers. Most companies start with trading partners. We have a very high adoption rate because of our smart maps, which is on the inside of that circle, and our ability to develop the APIs to bring data into those maps that are required by some companies to fulfill the requirements for that particular PO. We're connected to all the big box stores, Amazon, Home Depot, Costco, Walgreens, Walmart, Target, all of them. So again, the first step is to connect you to our data center for the forms that you want to process. We are certainly protocol agnostic, and we're format agnostic, which becomes very important when we're out bringing in trading partners and customers, because your trading partners and customers are using accounting systems that range anywhere from a spreadsheet all the way to one of the most sophisticated ERP systems like Infor. So our success rate is, the key to our success rate is certainly our implementation expertise, our expertise in this space. But one of the keys is our smart maps. And smart maps have the ability to embed business logic so that we can take those business logic or those business rules and put those into the smart map, eliminating the need to go back to the trading partner or customer and say, we think you need to make a change in your ERP system, which either is a non-starter and therefore the adoption rate drops, or we're asking them to make a change that may affect the processing when they go to do an upgrade and are not able to handle that change in the upgrade. So again, the key to that is to be able to put all of those business rules in the map itself and have no requirements for customers or trading partners to make changes in their ERP systems. And the smart maps are just a standard feature of our mapping process. Again, the logic could be as simple as unit of measure, multiple ship tos. We have very sophisticated maps that do API calls to get inventory information, to get availability and pallet size and whatever the requirements may be that you have or your trading partner has can be embedded into the smart map. So we talked earlier about exception reporting. I think it's important that that the company you do business with has an online portal that allows you to see, if you should choose to, any transaction or a summary of transactions, any type of customer reporting, support access. You can look at it on a human readable standpoint or drill down and look at the actual code in the transaction. It also has the ability to alert whoever you want to alert in any way they want to be alerted if a transaction should fail. And that includes our staff also. We will also get an alert if a transaction fails. And oftentimes we're already working through that with the trading partner before our customers even contact us. So having that portal and having the exception reporting criteria is very important to the production phase of your EDI performance and EDI platform. We, as I mentioned before, we've been an Infor partner for many years. We've been an NSA partner for many years. We're heavily weighted in the distribution space, the cloud suite distribution as well as SXE. We've got probably 80% of our customers are in distribution. We're also into the manufacturing with Sightline. We've had a lot of growth there over the last several years. And we have moved into the visual and XA space and are looking at opportunities in A+ and fax also. One of the questions we get often is, you know, I'm in the middle of planning to move to the cloud. Maybe I should just wait on the execution of my EDI program until after I finish, or do it at the same time as the cloud move. But that's not really, shouldn't be the reason. 90% of the work is done with trading partners and customers. And when you move to the cloud, we just have to remap your connection to our data center because there is a change. There is a change there that has to be done. So if you're thinking on waiting because you're tied to a cloud suite distribution move, you certainly don't have to do that. We can get a lot of work done and get you in production and then be ready to cut over to cloud suite distribution when the time is right. This is just a little growth chart. I want to make sure that we communicate to you that we're not a status quo company. We've had significant growth, especially since 2017. So over the last 5 years, you can see we had quite an inflection point in 2017, another one in 2020. We, like every other company, was concerned when COVID hit, but we thought we saw just the opposite effect, where we had companies increasing the number of transactions and also trading partners and customers to their platform, and the demand to bring on new companies went up significantly during that period of time. So, there's so many times in business where I've had different initiatives working on a digital transformation or a warehousing initiative. And, you sit down and you have that conversation, and you want to talk about cost, you want to talk about time, you want to talk about quality. It even stretches into if you wanted to build a home. They tell you can only have two of the three. If you want it quickly and high quality, it's going to cost a lot more. If you want to lower the cost and you want it quickly, you're going to sacrifice quality. So we're always presented with that dilemma and that balance. But when it comes to your EDI initiative, you get all three. You certainly lower your costs. You certainly save time and can process orders more quickly. And quality goes through the roof. As I indicated earlier, companies have reported a 62% improvement there. So it really is it's a win-win. NSA has made sure that for their customers, they wanted this discussion to include an offer. So we have an offer that if people sign an agreement with us before the end of the first quarter in 2023, that will connect your company to our data center and will connect to two trading partners with two forms. So you can do purchase orders and purchase order acknowledgements, and we will set those up, and there'll be no mapping fees associated with that or connection fees to the data center. So that's a $1,400 value that we thought would reward you for your time and for listening to us today. So that is the conclusion. I hope you found some things in here that that make sense and will help grow or put you into the EDI space, because the paybacks are significant. And as we said before, the time is now. It is critical. There is a sense of urgency if you're still in that manual mode to add this to your digital transformation platform. So Brian, kick it back to you.
Yeah, hey Tony, thank you so much. I think the presentation was amazing, and we really thank UniLink for this special promotion. I think this is a very attractive offer that we have for partners. So please reach out to Tony or myself and let us know if this is something that you'd like to engage. We'll have a one-on-one conversation with you, and we can discuss, what the ROI might be for you. So I have some questions, and I'll get to those in a second, but I have three takeaways for those in attendance. So one is the smart maps. So I think it's important, especially in the distribution space, to make things easier for our trading partners, right? And the ability to have those adjustments that are made without impacting the trading partner, I think are very, very big, especially with your major trading partners. The rebates, how many distributors have we spoken with over the years that have challenges in terms of managing all those rebates from so many different trading partners and, taking advantage of them and so forth. So that capability and the fact that it comes with the solution, I think is big. And then to Tony's point about, no need to wait, right? So if you're looking to move to Cloud Suite and you're not there yet, the ROI is so big on EDI, and the ability to transition from on-prem to Cloud Suite is easy. So there's no need to wait until you make that transition to be able to take advantage. So with that, I do have a number of questions, Tony, and I'll get to those here. So one question I have is, how much investment before I see tangible results from this solution?
Well, there's zero investment, and it should be zero. As I mentioned before, it's a success-based model. And really, once you go into production, if you think about it, every time a transaction is processed, if you're going from manual to EDI, you're putting $9.50 in your pocket. So if simple math would be, if you have a trading partner and you're doing 10 transactions a month, or let's say 15 to make it easy, 15 transactions a month, you're saving $150, and the cost of the map is $150. So, you're paying back for that map in a couple months at the most.
Wow,
So,
that's I
right.
mean, that's tremendous. I like this next question a lot. So, a lot of distributors have a fairly lean IT staff, and the question is, how much time from our existing staff will it take?
Well, minimal. And again, it's because we've refined this process over the years, but there is some work that has to be done. We have to make sure that we get the connection set up and that we're in sync and that we're talking to each other. And then when we initially start, we'll want to do some test transactions between you and our data center. So there is some time, a portion of a person's time. But if you think about the number of people that you'll free up, if you have 10 people that are doing all the order processing, order entry, and providing the information back and forth, you can repurpose the majority of those people. 2 people can do what 10 people do if you're completely automated. And something about machines, machines will outwork and out quality people 100% of the time. So there's some immediate savings that come as you go through the implementation process. But I would say from a technical standpoint, IT standpoint, there is some work on the front end, but it's minimal, and we do all the heavy lifting.
Well, that's fantastic. And, in addition to that, of course, in an automated manner, you eliminate a lot of errors and so forth that are typically done with multiple manual transactions. So that's great to hear. So what about business rules and exceptions to we manually apply?
Well, again, that's what the smart maps are all about. So in just about every case, if the business logic can be described, it can be incorporated into the smart map. It's really important for trading partners and customers to be able to do that, but it's also applicable to the connection between the data center and your ERP system. There may be things that you want to do that could be done in the smart map and not have to require a change in the ERP system.
Excellent. I've got a couple of more questions here. So one is, what is the success rate getting customers and trading partners to onboard? I love that question.
Well, to me, that's the $64,000 question. It doesn't do you any good to have this great EDI program if you don't have a high adoption rate from your customers and from your trading partners. So our adoption rate is very high, and again, it's because of the quality of our technical people, but the smart map technology takes a lot of delay and a lot of I can't participate because I don't want to make a change in my ERP system. So we take that out of the equation and we get a very high adoption rate.
Yeah, it's all about stickiness, right? Especially with your largest trading partners, the easier you can make it for them to do business with you, and that they're all easily set up with you to be able to do this type of business easily. I think that speaks volumes, right?
And that's a good point too. During implementation, you really want to hit your highest volume trading partners first, because that's where you're going to see the greatest payback. So if you hit your top 10, chances are you're already paid for the system because they're doing the most number of transactions, and it's simple math from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last question I have at the moment is, if you're on-prem, should I wait till I move to the cloud? I know you spoke about this earlier, but is there anything you want to elaborate on that?
No, I mean, there's no reason to wait. Again, because 90% of the work or more is done in the trading partner connection to our data center. And that work stays exactly like it is. There'll be no change. The only change is the adjustments we have to make to the maps to connect you from CSD versus on-prem into our data center. And so we have a lot of experience. We've done a lot of cutovers. We have a lot of experience on cutting over from on-prem to the cloud and doing it in a seamless manner, so it does not affect any of the processing of POs or PO acknowledgements or invoices, whatever you're automating.
Excellent. So Tony, I'll just ask one more question here. If you can pull up either your contact information or my contact information. And what I would ask as far as next steps is anybody that wants to have a one-on-one, we can easily set that up. Again, please take advantage of that special promo. I think that that's extremely generous of UniLink to offer that. We've got so many clients successful with this particular offering. And I would ask that you contact either Tony or myself. Let us know you're interested in having that one-on-one, and we'll go ahead and get that scheduled for you. I would also say that this recording, we will have this done and out to you within the next 24 hours as well. Please share this with your team. And again, if we can help in any way, we would ask that you do that. I do not at this point see any other questions. Tony, any final thoughts?
Yeah, one more comment. The one-on-ones are really of great value. I would encourage you to do that, because typically you'll want to include you'll have some technical questions, and we usually bring in our top technical person in on that call. It lasts about an hour. We do some information exchange. It's important if we want to prepare the financial analysis that we know how many trading partners you have, how many customers you have, what forms do you want to process, and what's the volume today? Because with that information, we can start to help you prepare the payback or the ROI analysis. But more importantly, it gets your team more comfortable with the fact with our team and how much of the work that we do, so it's not a burden on your IT staff. And in fact, our success rate is very high, and it gets just everybody comfortable that they get all their questions answered. Usually we go from an event like this to a one-on-one for about an hour. Then there may be a couple follow-up questions, and then typically we go to an agreement, and then we start the project.
Excellent.
All of that can happen in a 60-day period.
Well, as Ed mentioned before, we've got a number of NSA clients that use UniLink, and it just works. And I would urge anybody that's on this call to go ahead and engage with us. Take advantage of that special promo that UniLink has been so generous to provide. And like I said, we'll get this link out to you guys. Please share this with your team and let us know what else we can do to help. I have no additional questions at this point. So with that, I think it's a wrap. We're going to give you guys back another 10 minutes of your hour here. And I'd like to thank UniLink and everybody else that chose to join us for today's webinar session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.